Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. I am, of course, your host, Mark Krishnez, and today I've got literally nothing to talk about. This weekend was a hellhole. It was a horrible weekend that was completely wasted in the end, where I got the new capture device in, set it up initially, and thought it would be fine and run smoothly and everything would be hunky-dory, and it wasn't. The Elgato HD 60X, when I downloaded the 4K capture utility, the footage from that was incredibly choppy, specifically the audio, but then the recorded captures were just horribly choppy on all fronts. The video, the audio is just bad. And I thought, okay, well, this is just a no-go. But then I thought, what if I try to directly capture from OBS, which I never used with the current Elgato I have because the quality of the footage is much better when recording from the native software, from the Game Capture HD software. But I figured, maybe OBS is better now with the current setup I have and whatnot. Why don't I just try that? And it worked. The footage was nice and clean and smooth. The audio was great. It was all great. But in capturing directly through OBS, I would have to redo my whole setup in order to make things work. And I was switching things in OBS proper. And then finally got it to the place where, everything's working as it should. Wait a second. How am I going to capture the actual gameplay for making videos for YouTube? I need the full screen version. How am I going to record that while also streaming and having the setup that I have for streaming? Can I do that with OBS? Is there a way to do that? Because I could do that with Streamlabs OBS. You can choose what goes to the recording feed and what goes to the streaming feed. But there's nothing like that in OBS. I learned that this weekend. So after trying to find a way, I got a plugin that did not want to work at all. I think it was Source Record. And it just did not want to do its job. I ended up re-downloading Streamlabs OBS. And then I imported all my OBS scenes and everything to that, and was quickly reminded that it's not a one-for-one import. So while you get the majority of things, some things won't work, or they'll be out of place, or this or that, or whatever. And so that became my nightmare of setting all that up and fixing all that and expecting to fully transition to Streamlabs OBS. I did all that. I got it working, and it seemed like it was going to be good. And the way I got around it was just to have in a scene that I have for like streaming, in the background behind all the other sources, I had a full screen version of the gameplay on top of the smaller one that's in the TV screen. And that was only being sent to the recording. Everything else was only being set to the stream, while this full screen gameplay and audio that wasn't being affected by the compressor was being sent to the recording. So I did all this finicky, dumb shit to get it working, and I got it working, and it seemed like, okay, this is where I'm at. And then I realized as nice as it is, and it was nice in some cases, realistically, not going to be playing games on this TV with my dad, because we just play games online. And if a game is local co-op, fuck me. I could play on his stupid TV in his basement. But I realized that stuff like Apex, I don't like playing on the big screen. I gave it a go, but it just doesn't work. And while the instant game view is really, really good, like it works. It is very, very fast. And for most games, it's playable. But it was ever so slightly choppy. Like it would drop frames here and there. It was enough that a game like Apex, where you want it to be as smooth as possible, it was rough. It was rough. And because of that, I wouldn't be able to use that. Then I have to play a bit. It just became this whole thing where I was changing the way my setup is hardware-wise and wiring and all this stuff. And then changing this OBS scene, moving to this piece of software, trying this thing, doing all these things, wasting my entire weekend, thinking 2-3 times that I had finally set everything up and everything was great and we're set to go, only to, in the end, return the Elgato, revert my entire setup back to the way it was, and simply, in order to actually bring a cam to these streams when I'm playing a game, I reset up the second cam. I had to, initially in the test stream, just have it where the wire was right in front of me so that it could connect to a USB 3.0 port directly into my PC, because this is my history at least. Powered USB hubs, even if they're like, this is USB 3.0, it's all good, don't worry, it's just going to give you the same exact functionality as plugging it directly into your PC. Those never fucking work as intended in that case. Like, where a device needs that power, needs to be connected directly to a machine. It just it doesn't be, and it could be that the more things you connect to a USB hub, the less of, like, even a powered hub. Like, it's a powered hub. It's got its own power source and all that. But in my experience, at least, that never works. It never ever works. I've never found a hub that does it. And maybe I just need to buy like a fucking $200-$300 hub, which I'm sure exists. But you know what? I'm not going to do that. So instead, I mentioned it in the stream that I've never, like, it's annoying that this one thing is the case. And I never thought to myself, well, I can't be the only person who's annoyed by this. There has to be a workaround, or there has to be a solution to this. There has to be ones that actually do work. But USB extension cables are such that when you use them to connect a USB device to a port that it can't reach otherwise, you lose out on the advantages of plugging it directly in, because the cable just negates that, you know, for whatever reason. I don't understand hardware. But I then learned of the existence of active extension cables, which are more expensive, but they allow you to extend the length of a cable while also keeping the benefits of plugging a device directly into the machine. Mind blown. Why I never looked into this. Like, at this point, my setup is pretty good, but there are a few other devices where I'm like, this is here just because it needs, like, it can't be any further away. Like, I'm like, son of a bitch. The fucking, the cleaner, somewhat, like, I could have done a few things differently with the initial reset up of this whole thing when I rewired everything and whatnot. And I'm a little annoyed that I was just so dumb and short-sighted to not think, hey, there has to be a version of this type of cable, this extension cable, that is not shit. And now I know. But the extension cable I got does in fact work as intended. So that's good. And I got the game cam, which I'm happy with because it's at the angle I like. You know, it's showing my left side of my face. But yeah, it became a hellish weekend when I really needed, especially this weekend, I needed a relaxing weekend to just sort of mentally, I just needed a good weekend to not have to worry about shit. And I got the exact opposite. It was very frustrating, very exhausting, and just annoying in how I went through all this trouble. I did so much work. I just beat the shit out of myself all weekend long. And in the end, all I ended up doing was adding a second webcam. I can't, no, another thing, like, I feel like if I ever wanted to actually play on the Xbox or whatever, even the PS5 in its native resolution with HDR and all the bells and whistles, I still, because I guess it would look fine if the monitor was HDR and all that, but looking at HDR content, and it may have, if the 4K capture utility actually worked, it may have also converted or tone mapped and everything and fixed all that for viewing and whatnot. But the way HDR looks when it's viewed on a non-HDR display is not great. It's not great. And so that was affected, of course, and a little annoying. And I think one of the other things is that I think OBS has some stuff that can make HDR content look better on SDR displays, but Streamlabs OBS doesn't. It's just like nothing has all the things I want. If only the 4K capture utility actually worked, I may have kept it and stuck with it, because I think that would have dealt with that type of issue, and it would have meant I didn't have to change all these other aspects. Like, it would have, fucking God, man. I don't know if the 4K capture utility software is just a little piece of shit. If I had a faulty device that somehow worked with OBS, but not, it just, well, I don't know, man. I don't know shit about hardware or anything, but yeah. That was the adventure of my weekend, and it's why I have literally nothing to talk about game-wise. I just didn't play anything. I didn't have time. I was fucking trying to get all this setup shit working. I did also decide, after looking at the game cam and just thinking about it, I'm like, I slouched too much. That is definitely, I have back issues. I've had them so much, but with the way my setup is and everything, maybe my chair is just too high. I like sitting up high, but where my desk is and everything, maybe it's actually too high. And in order to have good posture when I am using the computer or gaming, I need to actually lower my chair and stop being an idiot. And that's what I'm doing right now. My chair's lower. It's weird because it's different, but I think in the end, going to be good. But yeah, I could have tried. There are a few games that I got that, because I have quite a few games, but they're all under embargo except for a few, and I could have played those a smidgen to just have something to talk about, but I didn't want to do that to myself or those games and just try and, like, beat myself very quickly with this game and that game to get some quick impressions and give you some content in that regard, because we can wait, right? I still watch some stuff. There are Patreon questions this episode, which is going to be nice. And if you like this show and whatnot, you probably enjoy me. So hearing about all those woes was probably entertaining enough. Probably, maybe, I don't know. But yeah. I also, you want to hear some more annoying things? I have the window shades, the kind you pull down, and then if you want them to go up, you just pull them a little bit down and they go up. Those things. And I feel like they're usually, mostly 100% of the time, they're white. And I was trying to find some black ones so that when watching movies, TV shows on my TV during the day, if I were to do so, and the sunlight was very bright, I could negate any glare. The TV, the QN90B, It's pretty good with glare. It's pretty good. But, you know what's better than some glare that's, not the most distracting? No glare. No glare. It's always better to have none of glare than some of it. And so, ultimately, because I have curtains that are about an inch and a half or 2 inches too short, so there's some of the window that still shows if the even when the curtains are covering the whole thing. I just ended up buying after trying to find fucking shades and failing because either there are these weird Velcro things like, oh, no install required. Here, fucking place a Velcro strap and then you can Velcro it on and off. I'm like, I don't want that, okay? I just want a roller. I want a roller shade, and that's it. Why is it so hard? And then all the things that were like roller shades and that, like, they're full install units, so they come with the thing that you install in the window thing. And I could not see on any of these a picture of what the actual roller looked like and how you remove it. In some of the cases, it looked like, okay, I don't think you can remove the roller from this, but I also have no idea. And then I would look at other ones where I think you could remove the roller here. Is it the kind of roller that I use that would fit my thing? Like, it just drove me nuts. And I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm just going to buy some new curtains that are slightly longer. And that's what I did. Those are arriving later today. And I can't wait to get them along with my big jumbo plushie of Bingo from Bluey, which I'm very, very, very excited about. So today should be a good day in that regard. Getting the new curtains in, getting a Bingo plush in, and yeah. Now I just need a big old Bluey plush. I'll be all good. So it is a hell of a weekend. What other annoying shit was I dealing with? I don't know. But I'm happy with this, despite all the horribleness that I went through dealing with the new setup that ultimately just was reverted back to the old setup with the addition of the webcam and whatnot. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm feeling good about streaming in general, and I'm excited. I am. So, yeah, enough of all that. Before, get to a Patreon question, whatever. In terms of what I've been watching, I am now just powering through TNG. I finished the first season. That was... it was rough. It was really rough. There's no getting around that. But there were 2 or 3 episodes in that last batch that were actually... I don't know if I'd say good, but they weren't bad. I'll at least say that. The one where they have the 2 Klingons who ended up being bad dudes who overtook this ship or whatever, and we learn more about the Klingon race and their culture, etc. That was actually pretty good, just for shedding some light on is it Warg? I forget his name, the Klingon on the ship who's part of the crew, because up until that point he was really underutilized. I was surprised. I'm like, man, I thought he was like a bigger deal, and I don't like he's like never used. And then we get that episode, which is pretty good. It's pretty good, and I think in a lot of lists it's considered one of the better episodes of the first season, and in some cases the best after the pilot. And then I think there were a few others that were okay, and just being okay was incredible for season 1. I was surprised. I knew she wasn't going to be on the series. That I was surprised when Tasha died, and like, oh, they just like it's kind of cool to just kill a main character and her be actually real dead. But I'm happy she's gone. I didn't really like her. I'm sad that because I started season 2, I'm about 7 episodes in, and so far season 2 feels like it's going to be a perfectly fine season. And then hopefully season 3 is when it gets, man, this is some good ass shit. But season 2, at least so far, isn't, oh my god, this is horrendous. But yes, this is fine. This is perfectly watchable. It's fine. Fine. But I am a little sad to see Dr. Crusher go. We definitely were left with the worst of the Crusher family. Fucking Wesley. I hate the way the show at times teases him going away. Where it's like, okay, this is your last day here. We're going to have to do our farewells later. And we all know that's not going to be the case because the whole show came out years ago. We know how many episodes he's in, etc. Just like, man, oh man, do I wish there was an alternate universe where this actually was the case and Wesley was just gone forever. But it's a bummer. I don't know how many guest appearances she makes, if any, and whatnot, but the whole cock tease that was Dr. Crusher and Jean-Luc Picard. I'm sad that we'll never see anything. I looked into it. I guess there was an episode or something or other where they talk about an alternate universe where they did hook up but then got divorced. And I can't remember if I read that there is an episode where you do get to see them kiss. But yeah. They really they had their moments in that first season. But Wesley, the thing I'll say about Wesley at least is that it seems like they've gotten away from the boy genius. He's still fucking so I think that was in the first season. But I think they're pretty okay with him just being an intelligent character who's part of the crew and not boy genius who can fucking just figure anything out that everyone else can. So that's good. I still like Data. You can see also in the special effects and some of the makeup that they definitely got a bigger budget starting with season 2. But it's fine. It's fine. I think, why can't I think of his real name now? Jean-Luc Picard. Oh my god, Patrick Stewart. He's still one of the weaker aspects of the show, acting wise. So I don't think season 2 had yet convinced him that the show was destined to last a long time and be this beloved thing that it is. So maybe that'll happen halfway or some point during season 2, but at least early on, he's still one of the weaker characters. And Pulaski, the new doctor, she seems so much like a carbon copy-ish of the doc from TOS. Though I feel like there's room for growth within her character. Whereas, I forget his name, but the doc from TOS, he never changed. Like, he had his ways of being and they were firm. And I'm getting hints already that we're going to see a nice arc for Pulaski where she does transition from being more purely analytical and very, well, this is how it goes. Like, clearly you're an android. You can't have this, that, or whatever, blah, 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 etc. and stuff like that. And that she's going to open up and she's going to evolve opinion-wise, thought-wise, etc. Hopefully. Got Whoopi. Whoopi has joined, starting with season 2. It just seems like, a wise bartender character, whatever. But she's pleasant. I like it when she's there because she's got, even me as a watcher, she has this very relaxing nature to her, very calming nature. So when she's there, it just feels nice. Things feel pleasant when she's around on the show. And yeah, I am enjoying it enough. And I can't wait to get to the point where I'm fucking loving it. But I did decide to take a break from TNG this morning, in fact, to finally rewatch something I've been thinking about ever since I started up TNG, and maybe even when I started up TOS. Finally rewatched Galaxy Quest, and oh shit, man, that movie is so good. It is obviously Tim Allen's best work, and not just his best work, but the best thing he's ever been in. And I'm including the Toy Story movies. I only really like Toy Story 1 and 2. 2 is kind of a Die Hard 2 situation where it's a bit more the same, but it's still good. But Toy Story 1 is still my favorite. The only real knock against Toy Story 1 is that it's incredibly dated from a visual standpoint, and it's a little rough to go back and watch it. I've talked about this in the past, but the way in which we get remakes of games today, and I wouldn't want things changed. I wouldn't want like a Resident Evil 2 style remake, but maybe more Demon Souls, which I think is relatively one for one. But I think for some of those early Pixar movies, a remake would be really, really cool. Though at the same time, the amount of work that would require, I don't think in any way would, unless they did do a re-release and it worked out, so that you'd have to do it with one movie and test the waters. But if they were to like remake Toy Story, I would be so beyond ecstatic. Just give me the same exact movie with current technology. And in some cases, this is what Disney has been doing with the live action stuff. So especially with The Lion King, which I haven't seen, but I've heard people talk about, and that it's really just a one-for-one remake. And it's not even fucking live action. That's what I hate about it. I mean, that's one of the things I hate about it. It just seems like the most pointless of all the quote-unquote live action remakes of their animated classics. But I would be curious if something like that would perform well or not. I'd love to see it. And I don't think they would have to do it with many movies. Honestly, maybe just Toy Story is the one that really, really could benefit from it. Because even A Bug's Life, which was that? I'm trying to remember the order of Pixar movies. Was A Bug's Life second? Was it Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc.? I'm trying to think of that initial 4-pack or so. But I think even with A Bug's Life starting there, like A Bug's Life holds up relatively well. But I would love to see a remake of that or a new Bug's Life movie because I adore that movie. I think it is. I'd probably say it's the most underrated of the Pixar movies. I think a lot of people forget about it or just don't like it all that much. And I think it's very fun and creative. And I love the idea of a story being told in the bug world. And I think it's really well done. We've got a great cast of characters, but also just a great voice cast. And I wish they would make a new one or, magically remake the original. And if they were to make a new one, you don't even have to have the same exact characters at all. You just do perfect title. I mean, it's set up for it. You have A Bug's Life, and then you have what? Another Bug's Life, which is a perfect way to title a sequel that is reminiscent or elicits the feelings that maybe some people have for the original and like, oh, I want to see a new Bug's Life movie. But also clearly states that this is a new story because it's another Bug's Life. It's not this Bug's Life 2. My high school life is what's that thing with what's her face? I don't know what I'm on about. But yeah. I'd love some more Bug's Life. Or just do something in the bug world again. The bug world, I think, is full of potential for really beautiful stuff to be done from just a visual standpoint. Like, there's so many interesting bugs out there, design-wise, the way they look and everything. And seeing our world from that perspective is really cool. That's why Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a really fun movie, even if it's not the best and it's got some questionable acting, etc. Conceptually and visually, that movie is very, very cool. And we see the potential in another Bug's Life with stuff like Epic, I believe, is the name of that one where it felt very Avatar-y, but animated and about the bug world and insects and just, the smaller version as opposed to aliens and all that shit. And it was okay. I mean, you're there for the visuals and some of the cast. I think Willem Dafoe was in it, or Christopher Watts. Yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, I completely got off track when I was talking about Galaxy Quest. But Galaxy Quest is amazing. Galaxy Quest is so good, and maybe it's not a Star Trek movie, but it's clearly going after the it's specifically a Star Trek inspired. I don't even know if you want to call it parody. I don't know what to call it, but I think there's an argument to be made that Galaxy Quest is the best Star Trek movie, show, piece of content ever made. It may not technically be Star Trek, but it doesn't matter. It's just so good. It's so fun. It's so entertaining. The performances are great. The characters and their different personalities are like, Sam Rockwell is so good in it. I really like, and he might be my favorite character in it. It might be my favorite performance he's ever done. I'm a big fan of Monk, but Tony Shalhoub, or however you pronounce his last name, he is so good in Galaxy Quest as this nonchalant chief engineer character who's just like unfazed by any of this space travel and whatnot, except when he's asked to do something that may lead to Tim Allen's character dying when he has to beam him up. He's like, I don't know how this system works. I was just like freaking randomly doing shit on the show. And but most of the time he's just like when he gets beamed up, everyone else is freaking out, and he's just like, huh. Well, that was something. Well, what's wrong with them? He's so good at it. It's just a great movie. You don't have to have any love for Star Trek. You don't have to have any knowledge of Star Trek. That's part of what makes it even better is the fact that it's not, and maybe that's why I hesitate to really want to put it in the parody category or anything of that ilk, because you don't need any knowledge of what it's making fun of or playing up, etc. It is just a good movie on it. It's just a good ass movie, and if you haven't seen it, I can't recommend it highly enough. I think I remember hearing about a 4K version at some point, but I don't know if that was real, if it was fake, if that's still potentially happening. I don't know. But it's very good. Definitely give it a go. And then other than that, I've gone back and watched some Van Damme stuff. I watched Bloodsport, and that movie is all right. I don't know if I'd put it in my top 5 Van Damme movies. But it did get me to rewatch The Quest, which is very much so Bloodsport 2. Kickboxer and Bloodsport are often paired together, and I always thought Kickboxer came out before Bloodsport. I thought it was Kickboxer and then the following year Bloodsport, but it's actually the other way around, which seems weird. Bloodsport seems way more like the movie that they make after this up-and-coming star has shown, look, people seem to like him. Let's do something a bit bigger with a bigger cast of characters and some maybe more familiar faces that you might know from this, that. Like, let's do that. It feels like Kickboxer is the Rumble in the Bronx to Bloodsport's Rush Hour, kind of. But it's all right. The fighting is not the greatest, but it has its moments. When Van Damme punches the sumo guy, does like the palm punch in the stomach and does the face. That's great, of course. And then every way he's reacting after getting hit in the face with that dust shit, the powder, by the bad dude at the very end is very, very entertaining. I enjoy the bad guy and how, like, they really make him just seem like the biggest dumb fuck in the world. Like, when he's just like, he seems like someone who can't even speak. Like, he's just that much of a muscle-bound dum-dum. So when he does speak, it's like, oh my god, I cannot believe you actually are smart enough to know the English language, or any language for that matter. I'm utterly shocked. Shocked am I. But it's okay. It might. So for me, top 5, excluding JCVD, because I think that's just this very unique standalone thing that is I think is the best performance he's ever done, unquestionably, and is a fantastic movie. But it's not really a Van Damme movie. Well, my top 5 would be Lionheart, then Sudden Death, and then 3 and 4 are, I'd have to watch them both to decide where each one falls, whether it's third or fourth, would be between Street Fighter and Hard Target. And I'm not joking. I'm not joshing about Street Fighter. I think that is a fantastic movie. I think it's so much fun. It knows how stupid and silly everything about it is. And the source material is just like, what do you expect us to make with this fucking dumb shit source material? And if anyone doesn't like Street Fighter because they think it doesn't respect the story and lore, etc. of Street Fighter, you got problems. You got problems because you care about the story and lore of Street Fighter, and you think there's story and lore in Street Fighter, and you just like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Street Fighter takes this dumb material, this very hollow material. I don't care what kind of story, especially back then, where, I mean, maybe they expanded a lot in Street Fighter 5 and 4, I don't know. And some of the anime that's come out and shit, whatever. But back then, they just made a fucking entertaining ass movie. And you know what else? I don't give a shit that Guile is not being played by an American. Who fucking cares? It doesn't fucking matter, man. Is it so important to the lore and everything? No, it's not. Who gives a shit? Is the movie entertaining? Yes? Okay. The case closed. Shut the fuck up. Then Hard Target is super fun and silly and ridiculous. And then for the 5th place, there are a handful of movies that could go there. Not Hard Target. Time Cop. Bloodsport could still be there. And then maybe Double Team would be dumb fun enough to land in the 5th spot. There's, I mean, maybe Knockoff is fun enough. I don't know. Kickboxer could be there. Maybe I'll change my tune about Kickboxer upon a rewatch. There's Replicant. I've never been the biggest fan of Universal Soldier. I think Universal Soldier 2 is kind of more fun with how stupid it is. There's Nowhere to Run. Death Warrant. Maximum Risk. I mean, Welcome to the Jungle, he's great in, but it's a bad movie. You've got From Hell. Is it From Hell or In Hell? Something Hell. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Double Impact, which I don't remember ever liking, but I wouldn't mind rewatching that. Legionnaire, Desert Heat. You know, I'm thinking of all the stuff before he transitioned to a lot of just straight to TV, straight to video garbage. But like Hardcores is horrible. And there's some other stuff that's really, really, really bad. But man, I'm not sure. And I think the one thing about like Bloodsport and Time Cop that are on that bubble, when I look at Van Damme, I think his movies fall into, well, technically, I guess, yeah, I would say there's 3 categories of Van Damme. There's just a good ass movie, which aren't many of, admittedly. There aren't that many that I would say these are good movies you don't need to be a fan of Van Damme. Then there are for fans of Van Damme. If you enjoy, if you like Van Damme, you're gonna like these movies. And then these are just dog shit. And my top 4, I think, are all good movies. And then I'd say Bloodsport, Time Cop are in there. And then there are a few that are on the bubble that I would just need to rewatch. And I would include, to me, if it's so bad it's good, that's just a good movie. That's just a good movie then. Because it's not so bad it's good if you're a Van Damme fan. It's so bad it's good because it's just so bad it's good. No Retreat, No Surrender. So bad it's good, but that's not really a Van Damme movie. He's got a very small part in it. He's the main fighting antagonist, but he's not. He's maybe, I don't know, on screen for 15 minutes of that movie. And Black Eagle. Black Eagle is so bad, I'm embarrassed for everyone who's involved in it. Van Damme has some moments in it. The main dude, it has maybe the most least charismatic lead actor ever in the history of everything. But then you have all the Van Damme movies that just suck. Anywho, that's enough rambling on and on. We've gone over 40 minutes just talking about nothing. So you think no games to talk about? How are you gonna make a show out of this? But we went fucking crazy. So let us go look at the Patreon questions before we wrap this up. Holy shit, I forgot I posted all these OPs. All right. So, what artist, and this is from Jedi, what artist or piece of art was most influential to you as an artist? So, this is a tricky question to answer because I'm not really sure. Part of my love of art was just everyone in my family pushed me towards it for whatever reason. I mean, my mom's an artist, so that was the thing. And I think if I had to say, I'd probably say the Ninja Turtles as just this cartoon thing that I loved, and I loved drawing them. I loved playing with the toys. I loved doodling with the Turtles, The Simpsons. I was a big doodler of The Simpsons. I love drawing Spawn. I have a Spawn that I did that I'm still pretty impressed by, that I made when I was like 13. I'm like, man, I was a better artist at 13 than I am now. At least more patient. But in terms of when I, like now, as an adult, who I really, really love and appreciate, and I just love Impressionism in general, because I think, when you look at a lot of paintings and whatnot, they can either be super, super abstract and you just don't know what you're even looking at. And that's fine. I enjoy those. And you have the stuff that is very realistic, and there are various different eras and styles of that, but things that are traditionally just portraying stuff and rendering things in a very realistic manner. And that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But when you are making a painting or a drawing or whatever that is almost a perfect copy, a perfect version of what you're seeing, that it's like a photograph but done by hand, etc. I look at that and I think to myself, photography exists as an art form. Maybe you should have just taken a photograph. Not to belittle or negate the work effort, etc., and the quality of those types of pieces, but I think Impressionism and Impressionist art is the perfect art form, because what it does is capture a moment in a way where you get the feeling of it, and you can it captures more than just what your eyes see, but what your body feels, sounds. Like you can get so much out of an Impressionist piece of work. And my favorite artist started in a bit more of a realistic thing and transitioned to Impressionism, and that is JMW Turner, Joseph Mallard William Turner. They made a movie about him not that long ago, which is very beautifully shot, but it's not. I got problems with the movie, but his art is incredible. I fucking love the hell out of it. My favorite of his is probably The Burning of the House of Parliament, but he's most well known for, I forget the exact name, but that like steam train coming down, and it's like, it's very impressionist, but that particular painting is probably his most well known, and it's very, very good. But I would look up his stuff, JMW Turner. I love his stuff, because you look at something like the Burning of the House of Parliament, and if you just had a photograph, you'd be like, okay, I can see it. I can see Parliament, and I see it's on fire. But with his piece, you feel the fire, you feel those flames, you feel the heat of it all. Like it elicits that so much better than a photograph would, or a more realistic style would. And that's why I really, really love Impressionism. So I hope that roughly answers your question, Jedi. I would love to talk more about art if you're ever interested in talking about art in general and going on like some deep dives. If you ever make your way out to Chicago, Jedi, and you want to hang out like the Art Institute, I'd be down. And then Enchi asks, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? You know what I have to say to that, Enchi? I don't fucking give a shit, man. I knew someone was going to ask this dumbass question at some point. And you know what? I don't have an answer for you. You know how much wood a woodchuck would chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I don't fucking ask Sonny. If you want someone who's an expert on wood, ask Sonny, because he's fucking got wood all the fucking time. And then we got another question from Jedi, according to Living Large. Do you know how many times I've resisted asking that question? He's talking about the woodchucking one. I'm sure every fucking time there's been a point to ask questions, you've resisted. And I thank you for doing that. Bad Enchi. Bad Enchi. And I think that's all the questions. I don't think there was another question, though. Well, let me just scroll down through all these fucking OPs I posted. Yeah, that is it in Factorino. So I'm glad we had the artist one, though. That was a nice one to talk about. And I'm always happy to potentially make more people aware of JMW Turner. I was so surprised when they made a movie about him, but I think while he's not, he hasn't ever reached the heights or the accolades or whatever, or the prominence, the notoriety of someone like Monet, etc. I believe he is considered or looked upon very highly in his home country of the UK. I think they look at him very, very highly, and I think there might be a JMW Turner museum there, which I would love to go to. Because have I seen any of his stuff? I can't remember if there is anything at the Art Institute or not of his. Got plenty of fucking Monets, goddamn. Monet. Monet, mo problems. Don't you know what they say? But yeah. And the movie it's just called Mr. Turner, starring character actor who's very good. You've seen him in a lot of stuff, but the portrayal and just like the way they handle the biopic nature, like it's somewhat regrettable, somewhat disappointing, but it does at least provide it does him justice from a visual standpoint. It's a very, very well shot, beautiful movie, and I'd say if you appreciate that art of filmmaking, that part of filmmaking, and you can like look past the substance, the story, etc. of a movie, and maybe it's something that you'll never want to rewatch, but you'd probably at least appreciate it upon a single viewing. It's worth checking out for that in that regard. But yeah, that is gonna do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. I just checked for a second. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I remember to turn on the mic. and I even did a little test recording. So yeah, I was scared for a second. I'm like, wait, I just had this great conversation about art. Did I maybe not record it? But we're good. We're all good. So that will do it for this episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you're watching the video version of this, of course, on the YouTubes, that's where it is. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and all that jazz. It would be very, very much appreciated. And if you are an audio-only listener, please also just go do that on the YouTubes because it does help out. Maybe leave a comment if you have anything about this particular episode that really sparked interest in your head or made you think about this or that or made you want to say something. Please leave a comment. I'd love to chit-chat about it and show YouTube that there's some engagement on this episode. And then, of course, if you want to watch me streaming games and whatnot, not always the ones I talk about here, because I think I'm going to focus more on long-run things, attack the backlog, second runs, etc., and maybe stream new stuff here and there. More so if I'm considering playing through the whole thing, etc. You can do that on the YouTubes as well. And the archives are all there. So if you miss out on them, if you like watching stream archives for whatever reason, if you don't need that interaction, which I want to try and limit at least somewhat, just so that I never want to take away too much focus from the game while I'm playing it. But those are on the YouTubes as well. And of course, if you'd like to find all my other links of import, you can go over to pixelatedsausage.com/pxs. Everyone pray and hope that Living Large wins the lottery, because he said if he wins the lottery, he's going to buy me pxs.xyz. So I'm going to hold him to that. I'm going to hold you to that, Living Large. I'd love to buy it myself. Join the Patreon, and maybe one day that'll happen. Come on, people. Come on, people. I got so few patrons. Let's just reach double digits. That would be a great thing to hit before the end of the year. Just double-digit number of patrons. For the love of God, it only costs you $1 to join, $3 if you want to get in on the question asking shit. But if you just want to support the show in the simplest way, $1. $1, that's $12 a year. That's for a whole year's worth of support. That's cheaper than how much it costs for one fucking month of Netflix. And you know what? I think I provide better original content than Netflix. I usually shit all over myself, but I'll say that at least. Fuck Netflix. Anywho, if you would like to support me and my nonsense, if you enjoy any of the stuff I do and what have you can go over to patreon.com/pxs to support me and said nonsense there. That is, again, patreon.com/pxs. You should also want to support me because I only talk about this shit at the end of the show. I don't bombard you with fucking all this pluggy bullshit at the beginning. I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk about this and whatnot. But first, just remember, like my shit, dude. Like it. Subscribe. I have this Patreon. Fucking pay me, bro. I wait until the end, where most people are probably already fucking have checked out and everything, or they realize they're at the end and they're like, okay, well, there's no real content anymore, so I don't need to keep listening. I'm thoughtful. I'm a little bit too thoughtful, aren't I? Not giving you free or not giving you exclusive content that you get. I'm like, no, man, just support me because you like myself already. And you wouldn't mind supporting me in a very small way. Because like is an extra $1 a month from one or a few people really going to change the world? No. But it does make me feel like at least some people care. Like I do appreciate. I am beyond appreciative of the handful of people who do support my crap via Patreon. But that is really going to do it for this here episode and whatnot. So, as always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. So, for now, adios, arrivederci. I don't know if I've done the whole stream end thing for the podcast, but I'm doing it anyway. But for now, adios, arrivederci, bye.
It's go time.